سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله. اللهم صل على محمد. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى والذي خلق السماوات والأرض بغير عمد ترونها تبارك وتعالى هو الأول والآخر وإليه المنتهى. نحمده ونستعينه ونثني عليه ونؤمن به، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف بريته ومبلغ رسالاته العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. I remind all of us and myself first and foremost to uphold the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be obedient servants of His. It's very simple, to live this life within the boundaries that He has set for us. The only problem is that there are no cheat days, there are no off days, all the way till the day of the grave. So it's easier said than done. Obviously, we have to talk about giving thanks to Allah and stuff on this Jumu'ah. But I want to share some thoughts with you all on this whole thing. Both khutbahs will be about that, but inshallah you'll see what I'm trying to get at here. In the first khutbah, I'm going to be, now that we've taken care of the population of the turkeys out there, and all is said and done, alhamdulillah, Allah has given us the tawfiq to be the channel through which we control the population. We want to talk about giving thanks and all of that. Obviously, giving thanks is good, and for any blessing that Allah has given us, right? And we all know the verse that says that if you show thanks to and gratefulness towards what Allah has given you and blessed you with, that Allah will give more. And obviously over there it is said that giving thanks isn't just to say Alhamdulillah, it's more than that probably. That we use the blessings of Allah the way we're supposed to be using them, not in the way of haram, but rather in the way that He is satisfied. Now, so this whole thing of thanks and giving thanks is a good thing. But sometimes though you're giving thanks for a blessing that the means to getting to that blessing was not actually very kosher, so to speak. It wasn't the best way or the best means to get to that blessing, and yet you still thank Allah. Well, if you're going to thank God for that, you should at least thank Him while being ashamed of the means that was used to get to that blessing. And obviously in this day and age, there are a lot more people talking about this holiday that just passed. I'm not here to bash the holiday itself. I want us to talk about some other stuff and see what we can get out of it. And I also want to share some story and history with you as well. Yes, sometimes the blessing itself, the means that were used to get to that blessing are a proper means, are an acceptable means. This blessing has thanks. And as a matter of fact, as Shaykh Mahdi was saying yesterday in that hadith that he shared, the giving thanks of that blessing might sometimes be more important than the blessing itself. The fact that Allah has given us this permission, given us this tawfiq to thank Him for a blessing, in some cases or in some perspectives might be better than the blessing itself. The fact that Allah has given me the basira, the understanding and insight to be grateful and understand that it's come from Him. Unlike the likes of Qarun, who said, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. Qarun, that, let's say, I think he was even a relative of Musa, who initially was a good person, but then eventually reached the point where he went against Musa alayhi salam. He was very wealthy. He said, I got this as a result of my own competence. Yes. And so he was eventually cursed, and the earth swallowed him up according to the Quran. And so for him, he was not blessed with the blessing of being thankful to the one he's supposed to be thankful to. So this itself is a big blessing, to understand that it's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being thankful for it. Now, having said all of that though, that's when the means to that blessing were a proper means. Sometimes the means used to get to a blessing, yes, are not the proper means. Now, it depends on what your worldview is. Depends on what our ideology is. Do the ends justify the means all the time? Sometimes, never. We'll have to see, case by case. Usually, though, the ends don't justify the means in Islam. As a matter of fact, I don't want to even say it's an Islamic thing, although Islam has put its finger on this matter. But even if there was no Islam, this is something that's common sense. This is something that humanity dictates that no, it's not always the case that the ends justify the means. Yeah. Now, what am I talking about here? Obviously, just all you need to do is a simple Google search on this whole idea of Thanksgiving and what happened and all of that. And you'll find is that the native indigenous Americans, what they did is that they took in and received some of these settlers that were coming from Europe and England. And what happened eventually is they were genocided. Now this is the part where, in this day and age, alhamdulillah, people are waking up to this idea. Okay, we're giving thanks to the blessings of God and all of that kind of stuff, but man, how brazen is one to, remember that all of this has happened, and then now we're all blessed with being here and all of that. Yeah, obviously, me and you are not to blame. We're talking about the 1600s right now. But to brazenly, every year, remember the food that those people gave, yeah, but not to remember what? The fact that all of them were genocided later. This is how the dunya works, brothers and sisters. The dunya will push you to a point where sometimes you will close your eyes and be upset about something and say, you know what, let it pass. Let's get it over with sooner than later so that we can, get past this guilt that's inflicted on me for hurting others for my own interest and benefit. Dunya. But listen, the dunya, and when we say dunya, it means that which of this life that we live in, that which compromises our afterlife. That's the dunya madhmuma. Yes, the condemned, negative dunya that we're supposed to be careful about and aware of. This dunya madhmuma, if we're not careful, slowly, instead of me closing my eyes, and saying, you know what, let's get it over with sooner, so that this guilt that's in me goes, it reaches a point that I'll watch others get oppressed, but it's all okay, and I'm happy maybe even. Why? Because my interests are being secured. At the end of the day, I'm the one that matters. At the end of the day, I'm the one the whole universe revolves around, it seems. Yeah? So now, here they are, some of these people, they're thanking, on such a holiday, they're thanking God or whatever, but yeah, don't you remember what happened? I'm saying all of this, why? Because now, they'll even do matam for the Native Americans that were all slaughtered. The thing is, though, mankind, because of the dunya, will mourn over those things that have happened in the past because it won't affect their dunya. Even if the same thing is being repeated, like today. This is the point I wanted to get to. Like today, the same ones who read in their history books that this is what happened. That's what happened to the Navajos. This is what happened to this one, that one, this one. So bad what happened. They might even shed a tear or two, maybe. But if you were to ask them, hey, could you go back in time? And if you were okay going back in time and not letting that happen, but you then wouldn't have this privilege of living in this country, they might still not be okay with it. So this is the same exact thing that's happening today in the Middle East. The same ones who in their history books call out what happened 400, 500 years ago, however many years ago it was, the genocide that happened to the natives of this land, the same ones who are upset about that are watching it happen. Now some of them close their eyes and they're like, okay, just slaughter as much as you can, get it over with. Others are just watching on. Yes? And so it is important. Now, all of you are saying that, okay, you're probably thinking to yourselves, okay, so then this is something we should not be having any events for and all of that. That's for the second khutbah. I'm going to fix everything that I'm ruining right now, okay? So you make sure you stay for the second khutbah. That's my pitch. There's stuff to say there as well. But yeah, this is a reality. This is what the dunya does. It blinds, yes, and makes one deaf to the point that, because this is our dunya right now, yeah, we will close our eyes. Now some will say, no, we're not going to close our eyes. We'll watch on. We will hold concerts in Riyadh and other places, although we consider ourselves the guardians of the Haramain. Yeah, this is what matters to us more than what's happening in a neighborhood close by, so to speak. Yeah. And they will thank Allah. You'll see them right now even as they feast sometimes. Not in this side of the world, in the Middle East, in the Khalij. They will have their big trays of food and they will be thanking Allah for what Allah has blessed them with. While the same people of theirs, they're all Arab. What happened to this ghayra of the Arab? What happened to the asabiyya of the Arab? No, it's okay because the dunya is what matters. Not even tribalism matters anymore. Dunya matters. That's all that matters. Now, sometimes this person closes their eyes, sometimes they keep one eye open, sometimes they watch on. You get this feeling that Umar ibn Sa'ad was kind of like the ones who kind of had one eye open, one eye closed. I'm just giving him as an example. Umar ibn Sa'ad, it seems when you read history, he kind of wanted to get it over with sooner because he knew what he's doing is wrong. We all have heard the stories. that he sees himself between Jannah and Jahannam. He says, I have to choose. And he says, I just can't not choose the dunya over akhirah. And he chooses dunya. But he knows what he's doing is wrong. And so he's kind of closing his eyes, trying to get it over with sooner. Even when they want to finish off Imam Hussein, the word he uses, at least according to the accounts, is inzilu alayhi wa arihuh. Relieve him, get it over with. You see? Relieve him. So it's as if he's keeping an eye open, but at the same time an eye closed. Some like to close their eyes completely. Later on they'll open their eyes. Last year you felt like, some people want to get it over soon in Gaza, but it took long. Slowly, the ones that closed their eyes, like just get it over with. Now their eyes are open and they're watching. Now, I'm saying all of this to make a segue into a story. In the Quran, it's short. There's maybe 3, 4, 5 verses about this story. So not many details have been shared with us, and there's a lot of difference of opinion exactly who these people were, what their story was, and all of that. And the tafasir have spoken about them. What am I speaking of? I am speaking of Ashabul Ukhdud. And I want to make a point here, okay? Because it really kind of matches with what we're seeing today. Ashabul Ukhdud. Ukhdud, they say it means a big pit, okay? A pit that's deep. And the plural is akhadid. So Ukhdud, there's a pit. What pit are we talking about? Some have narrated that, or some have said that it was 40 dhira' by 15 dhira', this pit. Okay? And I'll tell the story of what we have, whatever details we have, I'll share with you in a minute. But this pit, 40 dhira' by 15 dhira'. How long is a dhira'? It's like a meter or half a meter. So let's just take the minimum, half a meter. All right, so 40 dhira' by 15 gives you around 20 meters by, let's say 7 meters. 7 meters-ish. 20 meters by 7 meters, a pit. What's the story behind this? There's different opinions here, but the more famous one is that there was a tyrannical ruler who wanted to force the Christians of his area and region to become, and this is during a time that there was no Islam. So what was the last religion? The last religion was Christianity. That's the religion of haqq of that time. And so the people, some of them had embraced this true path of their time. These Ashabul Ukhdud, which some have said it refers to the people that were oppressed. Some say no, Ashabul Ukhdud means the ones who actually dug that pit, the ruler and his boys. Anyway, whichever one we take here, this ruler forces his people to convert to the creed that he has taken on. Now, in these narrations, it says it was a Yahudi creed. And so some of these people, they say, no, this is the religion that Allah wants us to embrace right now and follow right now. And no, we will not change our faith. Just kind of like the Ashabul Kahf. Ya innahum fityatun amanu bi rabbihim. Is it wazadahum huda? Or is it, yes? And so Allah gave them more hidayah. Why? Because they had embraced the faith, the true faith. Allah helped them more, gave them more insight, more basira, to the point that they were willing to give their lives but not give up the true faith. Now, so going back to Ashabul Ukhdud, who were like this Ashabul Kahf, their story, these were also people that said, we're not going to give up our faith. What happens now? Sometimes you will slaughter a people that you are ruling over oppressively and get it over with. Sometimes you make an example of them, but you might still be closing your eyes. Sometimes you watch as they suffer and die. And so this is what the verses of Surah Buruj talk about. Yes, it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. There are different opinions on how to translate this verse. I'm very more inclined towards the translation that says that may they die, may they perish, may they be destroyed. Who? The Ashabul Ukhdud, that tyrannical ruler and his people who oppressed others. May they die. Now, of course, they're already dead during the time of Islam. This is a curse. This is a la'an, brothers and sisters. We have this in other places in the Quran as well. قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَهُ. May the insan die. How kafir can one be? How ungrateful can one be? Yes? Here also, قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. May these people of the trench, of that pit, be destroyed and cursed. Why? What pit are we talking about here? النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ. This pit wasn't your normal pit. What was it? It was a pit full of fire. This is not a movie, brothers and sisters. This is a thing that has happened because the Quran is telling us. This pit was created to punish the ones who were not embracing the creed of the ruler of their time. And it was not a normal pit. It was a pit that it had so much fire in it, it's as if you can call that pit fire. But not just any fire, a fire that has a lot of fuel in it. Now the question is this, the Quran says the pit that had fuel, or this fire that had fuel. Obviously, for any fire you need fuel, you need firewood, right? And so here the Mufassirin have said that no, this wasn't your normal fire. Of course, every fire needs fuel. Every fire needs wood, something as a fuel, right? Of course, that's the case. All fire needs fuel. But what was significant about this fire was that you could notice a lot of fuel in there, to the point that it stands out. You say the fire that had fuel. Of course, all fire has fuel. You can't have a fire unless there's a piece of wood there, right? But they had filled this thing up. They wanted it to be very hot. النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. This is the part that I want to point out here. That, all right, you want to kill these people. Now some of the stories might say that they threw them in there. Other stories might say that no, they themselves had to go in there and jump in there. And some did that for their faith. Now, alhamdulillah, today, does Allah want us to do something like that? No, Allah doesn't want us to do something like that. For me and you, it's just avoid some of the harams that are around us. And yet, a person like me will still complain that Islam is too hard. Yeah? Just the other day, someone had contacted me and was telling me about something they're struggling with. And I'm not going to judge anybody, but I'm going to judge them anyway. That because I know they're in and out of their life and they're good people. And I told them, I said, Allah has given you everything. This is not something that I can say, oh, you're struggling with this. I'll tell this to a youth or somebody else who Allah hasn't blessed that much maybe with things. But this person really is blessed in almost every way. And brother, sister, I can't accept it. I'm sorry. Knowing you and everything about you, and don't worry, they don't live in Dallas. Everyone's looking at each other right now. Was it you? Was it you? So yeah. I just couldn't accept it for this individual. Sometimes you go easy on some people, sometimes you have to go hard on some people. It depends on the case. In this case, I had to go a little bit harder because it's not acceptable. Anyway, Allah hasn't asked us to go into a fire. Allah has asked us to go against our nafs. Yes? That grand and great struggle. Anyway, these people who now are thrown and flung into the fire, or they themselves cast themselves into the fire, what's happening with them is that as they're burning and dying in this fire, these ashabul ukhdud, it says, idhum alayha qu'ud. They're sitting at the edge of this pit, watching them with eyes opened. How important was the dunya to these people that now they're okay with? And maybe even taking pleasure in the fact that these people are burning. The more burning, the more dunya I get. You see, brothers and sisters, it reaches the point that the dunya does this to a person. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person might say, oh, a little haram here, a little haram there. What's the problem? It's obviously there's always tawbah and all that kind of stuff, but we have to be careful because the Quran itself tells us that, look, if you fall on this slope and you start going down too fast, it's going to be hard to stop, and then in the end, you're going to smash into a brick wall. ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. That the fate of those who kept continuing to do bad, su'. Sometimes we're like, I'm still Muslim, I still have Allah, I still have Imam Hussein, we're good. Yeah? But I do bad things. No, it says sometimes the fate of the ones who do bad it reaches the point where they do what? Takdeeb. They deny the signs of Allah. They deny Allah altogether. Who are we kidding? If the hadith is correct that says that sin destroys the iman the same way a knife cuts through meat and flesh, then it makes sense that if I continue to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, slowly my soul doesn't believe that He's there. Otherwise I'd be listening to Him. The wajib and haram has a practical effect on our iman. It reaches a point where just knowing Allah or studying philosophy and these things isn't going to help. If I'm not practicing what I know, it'll eat away at the iman. This same philosopher denies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. These people, their dunya lies in those madhlumin and oppressed ones burning in this fire. It says they were watching whom? They were watching on. وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ. They were shahid of and witnessing and watching what's happening to the mu'mineen of that time. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْ. What was the problem with these people? Had they oppressed Ashab al-Ukhdud? Had they done something wrong and now these people were seeking revenge on them? No. It says, وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. The only problem with this was, it says here in the translation, they were vindictive towards them only because they had faith. Brothers and sisters, it's not about me having faith or not necessarily. Them having faith gets in the way of their dunya. This ruler says, how dare somebody not do what I tell them to? If I am Fir'aun, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. You have to see me as your Lord. Yes? What's wrong with Fir'aun? What are you going to lose out on if I don't see you as Lord? I'm going to lose my dunya. But you're still wealthy. He says, you don't understand. Dunya doesn't just mean wealth and belonging. Sometimes it can mean that as well. But a lot of times it's just power. Ego. We seek refuge in Allah. For us little, now I'm not talking about you people, but looking at myself, this little Fir'aun here, doesn't have the opportunity to flourish. Otherwise, this little Fir'aun here, if it has it, that ego is going to be there too. This is what great ulama have said, that we all have a little Fir'aun in us. And we seek refuge in Allah of that Fir'aun, of ourselves. مَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. The only problem with these people is they had faith. What's the problem with that? Am I taking anything from you? Well, excuse me, you're not supposed to breathe without my permission. I'm a God as if. Fir'aun, when he's about to execute the sorcerers of Musa and the ones who fell in love with Musa, he said, you believed in him قَبْلَ أَنْ آذَنَ لَكُمْ. I didn't give you permission to believe in Musa. So they're not taking anything from Fir'aun or wealth or anything. They're taking from him ego. That's the problem. We seek refuge. They say the last thing to leave the heart of a believer, love of dunya, is it material things, this and that, maybe, but the last thing is hubbul jah, love of ranks and power and these kinds of things. Yes. And so when you look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam as well, was Imam Hussein doing anything to Yazid? No, but Yazid, he understands that my dunya might get affected if I don't get bay'ah from him. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنَ الْحُسَيْنِ. I'm not trying to make a verse here, by the way. نَقَمُوا مِنَ الْحُسَيْنِ. They didn't have any problem with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, illa, except that he just wasn't doing as they wanted him to do. Just give us bay'ah, it'll be over. He says, no, the repercussions of me giving bay'ah are وَمِثْلِ لَا يُبَايِعُ مِثْلَكَ. I don't, مِثْلَ Yazid, I don't give bay'ah. The likes of me can't. We're not allowed to give bay'ah to the likes of Yazid. Point being, brothers and sisters, for those of you coming in later and looking at me strange because you're like, oh man, he's hating on Thanksgiving. No, talking about something greater than that. Talking about how sometimes the blessing Allah has given us is a good blessing. The means to get to that blessing were problematic. At least acknowledge that. But we look at our society today, we look at the culture today, we see that no. They have a chance to make up for the past. How? When they see another genocide like the one that happened in the 1600s and the 1700s, where the natives of this land were destroyed, when they see it happening in the 21st century, they close their eyes. How's that possible? It's possible because dunya. And this has been the case throughout history. all the way to pre-Islamic times even, the Ashab al-Ukhdud are an example of that. We seek refuge in Allah from the nafs, from hubbul jah, from dhulm, and everything else that can destroy our akhirah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى والمثل الأعلى تبارك وتعالى ثم أصلي وأسلم على نجيبه وحبيبه وحافظ سره الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل وسلم على علي أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى سبطي نبي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة اللهم صل وسلم على أئمة الهدى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف القائم المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. Once again I remind us that the only way we can guarantee the akhirah is if we have taqwa in this life. وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ Jannah on the day of judgment is brought close for who? For the muttaqeen. For those who have taqwa. Taqwa will practically mean, I don't care what your definition of taqwa is, I don't care what equivalent for taqwa we use. Practically, if a person has taqwa, they are a person who does not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are an abd. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ أُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ Even friends are going to be enemies on that day, except the muttaqun. It says the Quran, الْأَخِلَّاءُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ Except for who? On that day, everyone's going to be an enemy of everybody. Another verse says, even when they're in front of each other, the friend looks at his friend, like, bro, we used to hang out and stuff. They don't care about each other anymore. Unless they were people of taqwa. What centers and masajid and communities have to yield. What's the product? What's the main product? Is taqwa. That's what it is. This dunya is supposed to yield all of this creation. خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا Allah created everything in this earth for you, O mankind, so that one thing comes out. Ubudiyya. Taqwa. This whole factory that He has created is supposed to make one product. That's what the product is. And think about it. If me, after all the tools Allah has given me, after all the blessings He's given me, the free will He's given me, the guidance, the light He's given me to tell the truth from falsehood, and I'm not able to make this product, yield this product, what's the point of our creation then? Obviously, this is something that we call hatabu, the hatab of Jahannam. The only thing you're good for is to light for fire, apparently. We seek refuge in Allah from leaving this dunya without having taqwa with us. So, moving on to the second khutbah, this is where we fix everything we messed up in the previous one. In the previous khutbah, we say we're hating on this idea of, let's thank God for everything and all that kind of stuff, and forget about that. We genocided everybody 300-400 years ago, and it's all good, and forgetting about that practically. Yeah. Now moving on into this idea. Now this is something that has not come up at all, by the way, here. It's just these are thoughts that I'm sharing with you because it might cross some people's minds. At the same time, when we criticize the perspective, what we talked about in the first khutbah, while we do that, at the same time though, we are living on this side of the world, and throughout the year, you're either at school or you're at work, right? And there are certain days that are off throughout the year, at the end of the day, right? This is where we live. It's not like in back home where, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha has like a week off. Eid al-Ghadir has a few days off, this day, that day. Nights of Qadr, the next day is off. Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ashura. It's not like that. And so we're living here, we have to understand and accept that this is the case. So I want to go on this side now of the extreme. The one side of the extreme says, don't even talk about this holiday and all of that. No, we look at it realistically and all of that. We talked about that in first khutbah. That's one extreme. Don't even talk about. The other side says, no, we can at least, because those are the days that we have off, we can, on the flip side, take this, manipulate it a little bit, give it a twist here and there, and sometimes you have to break it, not even twist it, and make the most of it. Yeah? If someone doesn't want to see things like that, I think they have to move back to their country, because this is what it is when you live here at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if I'm going to call out each of these things, obviously the culture that it comes with and all of that is a different story, obviously. But like yesterday we got together, and I thank everybody for setting this up. Can I at least, because we're off at the end of the day, give it a twist or 2 or 3 or 10, 20? Yeah? Come together, break bread together, talk about Islam together and all of that. It seems like that wouldn't be a problem. Once again, this is not something that has come up. All right? I'm just sharing my thoughts with all of you, because I want us to grow, inshallah, thinking about these things. And so what I'm saying is not set in stone either. We can talk about it more if anyone likes, but it seems like there isn't much of an issue that, okay, those few days are off. Let's get together, do things that are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's call it thanks to Allah. Yeah? Give it a twist here and there. At the end of the day, the qulub of the mu'mineen are coming together. If we had another day off, we would do it that day. But these are the only holidays that are there, correct? And so I just want to share with you a couple things here in regards to this. Hopefully people are off today, because I'm going a little over, Hopefully it's not too much over, but. We have this letter of Imam Ali to Malik al-Ashtar in Nahj al-Balagha. It's letter number 53. When Muhammad bin Abi Bakr was killed by Muawiyah's henchmen, Imam Ali wants to send Malik to govern the land of Egypt and Misr. It's a big place, it's an important place, strategic. So he sends someone important there, Malik al-Ashtar, and we all know he never came back from that trip. He never made it to Misr, actually. He never made it to Egypt, and he was also assassinated, unfortunately. And our master became more and more lonely after each of these tragedies. When Muhammad bin Abi Bakr was killed, when Malik was killed, Imam Ali became more and more lonely. Anyway, when he's sending Malik to govern Egypt, he sends a letter with him. And so this letter obviously is a beautiful letter. I'm just going to be touching on 2 lines of it, where the Imam, he says, look, that there are some traditions that people are going to have there, yeah, as long as, it's not causing problems, as long as, now I'm going to add it in my wording here, I'm going to add my words here, like as long as you are careful that it doesn't creep its way in one way or another. You're able to twist it enough and, make the most out of it. You don't have to necessarily get in the way of it, especially if good things are coming out of it. Once again, I am not pushing for the holiday or celebrating the holiday the way others do. I'm not pushing for that. Yeah, obviously I'm not for that personally. I'm nobody, but I'm not for that. What I'm trying to say is that now that we're off, we can get together, yeah, and do worship together, do ibadah together, somehow tie it to some Islamic concept and have those discussions together. That's all I'm saying. And so the Imam here says, وَلَا تَنْقُضْ سُنَّةً صَالِحَةً عَمِلَ بِهَا صُدُورُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. If you go and you see that there's something that people are doing that the great figures of this ummah might have practiced. Now some have translated it to say that صُدُورُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ means that the people that you're going to in Egypt, that the big figures of that place were pushing for. But anyway, what matters here is that it's a sunnah salihah. It's a good thing. Yeah. وَاجْتَمَعَتْ بِهَا الْأُلْفَةِ. And the people, it causes harmony for them, coming together. This community that has created harmony among your subjects and help them prosper. Do not introduce any new tradition that's going to cause problems. And he goes on. Some have used this part of his khutbah to say, look, when Islam came, it didn't come and say, I'm going to redo everything. There are some things that you will have, some practices that you have, I will tweak them, I won't redo them. Okay? In our case, obviously, based on the first khutbah, we have major issues here. We have major issues with other holidays sometimes too, yeah? But now do I fall on the other extreme where I tell my kids, we're not going anywhere, we're not doing anything, the kids are off, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, there's something happening, Allah's name is there, Allah is mentioned there, Islam is mentioned there. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the never-ending debate back home in Iran we had all the time. Those of you who are from Iran, you'll probably know what I'm referring to, and that is the discussion and debate of Nowruz. Okay? Now, obviously, where do the roots of Nowruz go back to? Obviously, it's not an Islamic thing. Some will push to make it purely Islamic. Some will push on the other end and say it's purely pagan and Zoroastrian and so on and so forth. This has been an ongoing debate. Some will say, if they see each other, they'll say, they won't cough, that was on the side. Excuse me. They'll say, Nowruz Mubarak. May your Nowruz be blessed. Others will say, Eid Nowruz Shuma Mubarak. Then you can tell which side they're on. Oh, this one sees it as an Eid, this one doesn't see it as an Eid, and so on and so forth, okay? There was a whole discussion. Some wanted to make it an Eid before they can celebrate it, but they would say Islam doesn't have such an Eid. Others would say that's true. It has to be an Islamic Eid before we have a good time in it, so let's make it Islamic somehow. Because there are some hadiths here as well. Yeah? So there's a lot of back and forth. People like Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, they came out and said, listen, at the end of the day, we can't say necessarily it's Islamic. We have some hadiths that actually might go against that. There's one hadith and story, I think it's Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, that he was, the Khalifa forced him to come and sit next to him. Recite salawat. That Imam al-Kadhim was sat next to the Khalifa of his time. Why? Because there were Persians that were coming, my people, were coming to the Khalifa to, for whatever reason it was, and so he wanted to congratulate them on their holiday. And so he tells Imam Kadhim to come and forcefully sits him next to him. The Imam here, he says something, so I'm just trying to let you know that there are some who use these as an argument against Nowruz being an Eid. Okay? They said that, Imam al-Kadhim in that hadith, what does he say? He says, I'm not going to go and I don't want to sit next to you and revive something that my grandfather had destroyed. Okay? That's one hadith. And they forced the Imam to sit there, and he got a lot of gifts, and in the end, he's like, okay, what do I do with these gifts? And there was a poor person there, he's like, oh wow, you got all these gifts. He's like, oh, you can have all of them. He gave it all to him. Showing that he doesn't really acknowledge. That's one side. There's other sides of the story as well, okay? The point I'm trying to make is Ayatollah Jawadi and other scholars, they said, look, this is not, we have to pick our battles, to be honest. At the end of the day, this is something that's been there forever. Instead of fighting over whether it's an Islamic one or not, what we need to do is understand what's happening in it. You don't consider it an Eid either, or even, okay, fine, it's not an Eid. But at the end of the day, Salāt-e-Rahim is happening, we're going and seeing each other, catching up on things. Some relatives don't even see each other once a year except on that occasion, because they're off for like 2 weeks. And so, point being, when these people get together, good things are happening. Okay, then we can do something like that. Then but it's not Islamic. Okay, we will get rid of anything that has to do with what others do. But at the same time, we're living in a time and a place where these are the only days that we have off. This is the time for us to unwind and relax a little bit, see each other, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we're doing this so that our kids don't grow up with a complex later on, thinking that going out and celebrating 10 times more than the normal goras out there. Why? Because they never got the chance as kids growing up, because we were just locking them up and stuff. Once again, this is not something that has come up in our community, but all in all, back in the day you would hear some things. So this is, I think, a balanced way to look at it. Yes? Even for other ones, they'll bring the youth upstairs in that pretty lounge, and Sheikh Mahdi will speak to them about, jinns and stuff. All right? We have a whole surah named after jinn. Yeah? And so, things like that. Look, we have to improvise at the end of the day. Yes? And so after that first khutbah, and all of that, having said all of that, what I'm going to say is that I, first of all, thank the organizers and all of that for what they have done to provide these opportunities for our youth, for our community. And that, we can take this culture in, digest it to our liking. We set the standards. We dictate how we want it to be for ourselves. Mutahari has a very good saying, and I'll end on this. Mutahari, he says that a live culture is not that one that excludes everything else other than itself. No, it sees what's out there, takes it in, digests it. What happens when the body digests food? It gets rid of the waste. Gets rid of the waste and the trash and that which we're against. And if there's anything good left, it will take that in and it becomes part of that body. Yes? And so he's saying this in another context. For example, some people would call out Greek philosophy. There's some things to take from it. اطلب العلم ولو بالصين. Go, get whatever you can, but digest it. Don't just put it in there and it doesn't digest. Then you get sick. If a culture is not a lively culture, it gets sick when you add anything to it. A strong culture that has roots, of course, Islam is the strongest culture ever, that will be able to digest. Sometimes it digests it and throws all of it away. Sometimes a shell of that thing remains, everything else has changed, like in the case of what we do sometimes. Yeah? Sometimes it'll take 50% of it, sometimes it'll take more or less, whatever it is, but digestion. He says this is how a culture survives and lives on. And once again, my disclaimer is that I am in no way saying that we need to understand that it's okay to celebrate the way that others do. No, all I'm saying is that since those are the days off, I'll see you here on that day, I'll see you here on that day, let's talk about Allah, let's do jama'ah together, let's break some bread together. Having said all of that, brothers and sisters, as I end, we heard as CFK announcements announced, and I'm pretty sure the whole community, the whole Dallas community knows, our dearest brother, Wajahat Siddiqui, had that heart attack. And so he's in the hospital right now. Obviously, the family has asked that we give them their time and privacy for now until they figure things out. Inshallah, he gets better. It was just the last Jummah that I did that when I walked in, he was one of the first ones here. He gave adhan and stuff. And it's upsetting for me not to see him sitting there with that chair that he uses and stuff. Yeah, mashallah, till now he's been working and he's a hard worker. And it goes without saying that he's one of the, I would say, very sincere brothers that we have in this community. And so it's very saddening to hear this news. Inshallah, he gets better. Inshallah, between the two namazes, we'll do Amma Yujib as well. And with that, I will end this khutbah here. May Allah give him a very quick recovery and patience to his family, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العلي العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وأن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا. بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما. قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله. وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربي. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم ارزقنا التجافي عن دار الغرور والإنابة إلى دار الخلود. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. اللهم لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا سقما إلا شفيته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا سوءا إلا صرفته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولي فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين آمين يا رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. There is no God except God, the all-supreme and the all-forbearing. There is no God except God, the Lord of the noble throne. All praise belongs to God, Lord of all the worlds. O God, I beseech you to grant me that which will call forth your mercy and make certain your forgiveness, and grant me a share of every virtue and safety from every sin. O God, do not leave any of my sins unforgiven, nor any grief unrelieved, nor any illness uncured, nor any defect unconcealed, nor any provision unenhanced, nor any fear unalleviated, nor any evil unrepelled, nor any need of which you approve and in which lies my welfare unfulfilled. O most merciful of the merciful, Ameen, O Lord of all the worlds, Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And let us recite all together the verse of the Quran, remembering our dear brother Wajahat Siddiqui, inshaAllah. We pray for his full and speedy recovery, inshaAllah. All together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Everyone. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. 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 صلوات.
Just a couple of quick reminders for next week's events. Inshallah, we will be commemorating the second Fatimiyah here at City of Knowledge. There will be a 3-day private Urdu program next week, Tuesday through Thursday, with guest speaker Maulana Kumail Mahdavi. We also have the 2-night CFK English program on Thursday and Friday with guest speaker Sheikh Ahmed Mudaras. Details on dates and times will be communicated over WhatsApp. Another reminder for the Shield Families and Mizan Institute's Building Resilient Families workshop, part 1, pre-marriage. Join us for this workshop, which is focused on the pre-marriage phase, whether you are single, married, or a parent. This session will provide valuable insights on navigating this stage for yourself or your current or future children. This course is being led by our own Sheikh Al-Saadi, and registration is open. Please visit shieldfamilies.org/Dallas for reservations. Seats are limited. As always, event details are posted on our webpage, cfkdfw.org, where you can also subscribe to our newsletter and to our WhatsApp group that have all our event details. Jazakallah to all our sustaining members, donors, volunteers, and program sponsors for your contributions. If you're not a member yet, please consider becoming one by contacting our membership director, Brother Zain Rangoonwala. For opportunities to donate, sponsor programs, or help behind the scenes, please speak to myself or any of the volunteers. Let us please recite a Surah Fatiha for Marhum Ali Muhammad Jaisa, Shehrbanu Jaisa, Ghulam Abbas Jaisa, Muhammad Raza, and the Marhumin of the Jaisa family, the Marhumin of today's Niyaz sponsors, and let us also include our own Marhumin and the Marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على
صلى الله
محمد
عليه
وآل
وآله
محمد.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول
اللهم
الله
صل على
صلى
محمد
الله
وآل
عليه
محمد.
وآله وأن عليا حجة الله
اللهم صل على محمد
صلوات
وآل
الله
محمد.
وسلامه عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كذلك الله ربي الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام، وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاضع فقير بائس مسكين مستكين مستجير، لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع، ومن قلب لا يخشع، ومن علم لا ينفع، ومن صلاة لا ترفع، ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسرى بعد العسر، والفرج بعد الكرب، والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. I beseech the forgiveness of God, besides whom there is no God, the living one, the all-sustainer, the all-beneficent, the all-merciful, the Lord of majesty and munificence. I beseech him to accept penitence of mine as a servant who is weak, humble, needy, destitute, indigent, and miserable, a fugitive seeking refuge who has neither any power to obtain any benefit for himself, nor to avoid any harm, nor any power over his own life, death, or resurrection. O God, I seek your protection from a carnal soul which is never satisfied, from a heart that is not humble, from a knowledge that brings no benefit, from prayers that are not taken up to the heaven, and from supplications that are not heard. O God, I beseech you to grant me ease after hardship, and relief after pain, and ease after distress. O God, whatever blessing we partake of comes from you. There is no God but you. I beseech your forgiveness and revert to you penitently. Salawat.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام على الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام على 9 المعصومين من ولد الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان. الأمان الأمان من فتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.